Oh, here we go. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Faith and Fandom Feedback Friday podcast for February 27th, 2026. Hope y'all are all doing well. The month is about come to a close, and we are 1/12 of the way through 2026, or 2/12. Yeah, I'm dumb. Uh, we've made it 2 months. Do with that what you will. But yeah, we're a couple months deep into 2026, and it's not the best year of all time so far, but I think it technically could be worse. So, but there's still things worth celebrating and being excited about, regardless of all that we've seen. Good morning, Mr. Riley. But yep, we're gonna jump into some news. Lots going on this weekend, lots to go. So, one news that was reported last week is Dominique Brown, a U.S. history teacher, um, out of Taylor Prep High School, uh, was named Teacher of the Month for the school, but then was reported by an anonymous parent because off the clock, she had a pretty successful rap career. Um, yeah, parents be hating. But Dominique had a rap career where she made videos and dropped songs and performed. And so the school found out about the fact that she had a rap career. And after reviewing her music and finding about her rap career, the school gave her the choice to be fired or to delete her music. And so she chose to be fired. But then she came back with her response to everything with a new song called Drippin' 101, where she invited all of her former students, young and old, to come be in the music video. So if you want to watch Dominique Brown's stunt on the school board that fired her and watch her students dance around in the background, Drippin' 101, Dominique Brown, enjoy that search. But yeah, that's one thing. Florida Senate passed the new Teddy Bridgewater Act, which allows coaches in K through 12th grade, so elementary, middle school, high school coaches, to use up to $15,000 of personal funds to assist players in need. So they basically said you're allowed to help your players if you coach. This came after Teddy Bridgewater was suspended from coaching his high school alma mater because he was helping pay for food and transportation for some of his players while trying to find donations to cover some of his players' finances. And so the Teddy Bridgewater Act has officially been passed. It does still need to go through the Florida House, and then Governor Ron DeSantis before it's official, but it did pass the Senate. So coaches are allowed to help their players. What a novel idea. But I get it. You don't want it to be anything inappropriate, but at the same time, don't fire people because they actually care. Um, The Passion of the Christ was one of the biggest films of all time, and for a very long period was one of the biggest R-rated films of all time. Uh, the Passion of the Christ sequel is technically something no one's really asking for, but it is definitely happening. And it is happening without Jim Caviezel and the other actors from the original Passion of the Christ just because they've gotten older. But Mel Gibson, over the past week, has spent time communicating with excommunicated Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano, who, good morning, Tristan. Um, this excommunicated archbishop was a very vocal critic of the former Pope Francis and called him a servant of Satan. Um, and so Gibson is meeting with this excommunicated priest or archbishop, a former ambassador to the United States, to get more of his input on what to do with the Passion Part 2. Um, yeah, and he's pretty much one of the considered more controversial archbishops, and so he's the voice whispering in Mel's ear, which is a whole vibe right now. The BAFTAs, which is the British Oscars, basically happened this past week, and it was filled with controversy. We'll cross some of those bridges in a second, but one of them, of the less controversial issues, is the fact that Timothy Chalamet set a record for the most losses in a single night, uh, tying with other films. But his film Marty Supreme was nominated for 11 BAFTAs and lost all of them. And so that puts him in the ranking with two other films who have done the same thing. But yes, it has not been his year with that. One of the big aspects of the BAFTAs that has gotten more attention than the awards themselves is what happened with Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo while they were presenting at the BAFTAs. One of the dudes who was there at the BAFTAs was a man named John, who is an advocate for Tourette's and people with Tourette's. And John was there to advocate for Tourette's, but he was also there because one of the movies that was nominated for a BAFTA and would go on to win for Best Actor, called I Swear, is a movie about John and about someone dealing with Tourette's. If you're not familiar with Tourette's, can cause you to say things, have tics, and to say, literally dig your brain for the most inappropriate thing to say and to say it out loud. So, while at the BAFTAs, while Delroy Lindo and Michael B. Jordan were presenting, uh, John shouted out the N word multiple times. He shouted out other things throughout the night. Host Alan Cummings went on to apologize, but also to let people know, hey, you're going to hear things. It's because he's advocating for Tourette's, and there's been lots of discussion about that. The two biggest points of contention that have remained after this scenario are the fact that the BAFTAs did, while apologizing to the audience, never directly apologized to Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo, who had to stand there and listen to it. That's A. They didn't get apologized to. B. Warner Brothers directly reached out on behalf of their actors to ask that this situation be cut from the edit that was broadcast. They did not, in fact, cut it. They did cut people stating Free Palestine. They did cut when John said other phrases that were offensive, but did not cut the N word in that scenario. So they were selective in their editing and cutting of the process, which is only lending to more issues and arguments going forward with it. So the discussions are ongoing. John personally has apologized by anyone who would be offended by this. He made a broadcast apology that anyone who might be offended by this, and not to think that they're his choices. But it's an awkward and uncomfortable situation for two African American actors to literally fly all the way to England to be called the N word on TV. It's a wild scenario. Um, on a positive note with the BAFTAs, Ryan Coogler made BAFTA history as the first black winner for original screenplay for Sinners. The Olympics also were going on for the past little bit, And the United States made history in Milan, winning 12 gold medals, their most ever for the Winter Olympics. So congratulations to them for that. The U.S. men's hockey team also won for the first time in a long while as well. And the U.S. women's hockey team won. And also making history in that capacity was Layla Edwards, and she was the first African American. She was the first African American woman to be on a hockey team that won an Olympic gold in the world. So, congratulations to her with that. Let's see. Uh, Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones have been fighting with each other over the last little bit. Um, as Game of Thrones episode 5 of A Night of Seven Kingdoms received what was considered the highest ranking episode of TV of all time for episode 5. And, you know, scores will change and do different things as they're going along. But uh, it was getting dangerously close to the Ozymandias episode, the finale of Breaking Bad, which currently holds the highest ranking of all time. And so, uh, Game of Thrones fans went to the IMDb and score rankings for Breaking Bad and started lowering the rankings on that episode to try and do it. And so then Breaking Bad fans went and tried to lower the situation for Game of Thrones as well. And they were battling over scores and critics because that's what nerds do. BBC has announced this week. Last week, they announced that the Christmas special will shift the changes into where Doctor Who is moving forward. But beyond that, it has been announced that HBO is potentially looking to take on the new hosting and streaming partnership with Doctor Who, which is something we could hear about by the end of the year. Um, yeah. Ryan Coogler's X-Files has officially been greenlit for a pilot on Hulu. So that's moving forward. K-pop Demon Hunters and Frankenstein are being added to the Criterion Collection, which, if you don't know, the Criterion Collection is like the standard for what movies you should own. And there's a literal closet where you can go and browse Criterion Collections, but K-pop Demon Hunters will be in there along with Frankenstein, and I'm sure other movies from our era are going to be added. A Costa Rican football player, and by football I mean soccer. Costa Rican football player named Derrickson Quiros had a kind of a crazy week. After his match on Sunday, he got down on one knee and proposed to his girlfriend on the field, on the pitch. Um, and she said yes. 4 days later on Instagram, he posted, um, "What's up, Eder Diaz? What's up, man?" 4 days later, Derrickson posted that he was ending his relationship because he wanted to focus on his soccer career. So, dude literally went from proposing to breaking up in a 4 day window. That's kind of bananas. Um, if you heard the past few weeks talk about how J. Cole visited Fayetteville on his tour and stop promoting his new album, The Fall Off, and that he went to Greensboro, North Carolina, and Charlotte and some other areas to sell copies of The Fall Off out of the back of his trunk. Um, well, and this was out of the trunk of his Honda Civic, which was the car he drove growing up. Um, well, he decided to drive his Honda Civic home to LA, and his Honda Civic said no. He made it to Phoenix, Arizona, where his Honda Civic died out. and he hung around in Arizona while the mechanics fixed his car, and people started showing up at the mechanic and getting CDs there as well. The WNBA, the Women's National Basketball Association, made enough money this year during the 2025 season for $8 million in revenue sharing. It's the first time the WNBA has generated that much finances, enough for its players to be able to receive a total of 8 million to disperse among players. So congratulations with that. More on that. Uh, with the men's hockey team winning uh, the gold medal in the Olympics, they were on a phone call with President Trump and were invited back to the White House for a meal of McDonald's. Um, Someone was recording the call or it was being broadcast, either way, um, where President Trump made a joke uh, that he said he'd probably have to invite the women's team too because he'd be impeached if he didn't. Um, and so the women officially rejected the offer. And in doing so, Flava Flav, who is a big advocate of the Olympics and women's sports, um, offered to fly to all the women and the team and everyone else to Vegas to apparently have a grand celebration in their honor. So um, the men went to the White House and had McDonald's, and the women got flown to Vegas with Flava Flav. So there we go. Um, it's a wild world. Um, there is a class action lawsuit on over 30 major candies if you have a sweet tooth. Black Forest gummy bears, Trolleys, Sour Patch Kids, Nerds Clusters. Um, Cassidy's accurate. Laffy Taffy, Sweet Tarts, Rope, and several other candies. There's a class action lawsuit against these candies for uh, exceeding the acceptable levels of arsenic in a food. Yeah. Um, yeah, Cassidy says Flavor Flav is the better choice. But all of these candies are in a place where they are apparently have a trace amount of arsenic, and then when consumed, it's more than the acceptable level. Listen, y'all, I'm with the no level of arsenic is the acceptable level of arsenic. I don't know about y'all. Yeah. Sadly, Martin Short's daughter, Catherine, has died by suicide this past week, at the age, I want to say she was 42 years old. Yeah, that's definitely heartbreaking. Um, in less tragic news. If you are familiar with the internet and emotional damage, you are probably familiar with Uncle Roger. Like Uncle Roger, hiya, the cooking show guy. Um, he is expecting his first child with his wife, Sabrina Ahmed. And he says niece and nephew need to welcome uh, their baby. Home Improvement child star Zachary Ty Bryant has been sentenced to 1 year in jail after being arrested 6 times in 5 years. Um, Hope this is a good point for him to kind of get some peace and healing with this. ESPN has announced a broadcast deal with the Savannah Bananas. ESPN, which has been, and I mean this with all the love in the world, ESPN, which has been struggling for relevancy. Um, with hiring booking the WWE. Now they are officially going to start broadcasting Banana Ball now that the Bananas have launched their own league. Good morning, Jarrett. But yeah, now that Banana Ball has launched its own league, ESPN is going to start broadcasting it. Metallica has announced a Vegas Sphere residency for the fall of 2026. Um, so that is coming. If you want to go to Las Vegas and feel the full Sandman vibes in a giant dome, you have that option. 21 Pilots movie, More Than We Ever Imagined, hit IMAX in theaters on Wednesday. Um, Rachel says they'll get it now, Savannah Bananas. I think so too, because listen, I think I would enjoy watching Banana Ball on TV because it's not likely that I'm going to be able to watch it too often. But in reality, I'm still not paying $30 for ESPN. So it is what it is. Because I think it's hot garbage that I have a like Disney, ESPN, Hulu bundle, but can't watch WWE on that part of ESPN. I've got to pay for more. Shenanigans, I say. Shenanigans. But 21 Pilots have had a good week. Their film More Than We Ever Imagined hit theaters on Wednesday. It was really good. If you've seen their tours, you know what's up. But seeing the massive amount of people at Mexico City for this was just really ridiculous. But it has premiered to a 9.6 rating out of 10 so far as a film. They also released their previously secret song Drag Path with a remixed ending, and it hit number one on the weekend debut charts on Spotify as well, and has been doing really well for them in that capacity too. The More Than We Ever Imagined movie will be in theaters today and tomorrow, I believe. It's gone by Sunday, so it's just for this weekend. But it was good. Um, Out of the 21 Pilots theatrical release, the director of the 21 Pilots movie, um, uh, Cassidy says free or what ESPN package actually comes with that hockey. Um, but 21 Pilots director of the movie has stated that one of the things that they're considering down the road is actually doing something with the lore and story that inspired with the songs and the videos that they did for 10 years. It could be something to the level of a actual show, a movie, or a Broadway play. So either way, they're probably not done with creative things. They're always looking for the next challenge. And that's a challenge. AMC Theaters is introducing priority seating. So if you have A-list stubs and stubs premier, you get better seat options than the peasants. I have one of those, whichever the one not as expensive ones. I pay like to be able to get like cheaper popcorn and uh to be able to get not pay fees. But you will have a better option of seating. So I don't know, man. I'm not sitting on the front row. I don't care what y'all say. Netflix has officially bowed out of the offer and process to be able to um, buy Warner Brothers. Paramount made a counter bid, and Netflix declined to counter that bid, and so they said that they're out, which leaves currently Netflix in the hands of Paramount. We'll see how that plays out. Pokemon Go, as it's moving into its 10th year, Pokemon Go will be 10 years old on July 6th, but has announced that it will be changing some things up, meaning it's going to reduce paid event tickets. So you'll see less paid events, and you'll have the ability to finally catch shiny evolved versions of Pokemon in the wild. So you'll be able to find a legit shiny Gyarados flying around and things like that. So it won't just be shiny basic starters. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Wolverine, the video game, has got a release date for September 15th, 2026. The long-awaited, very gruesome Wolverine video game. Good morning, Kelly. Is going to be dropping in September. Speaking of video game drops, Resident Evil Requiem, which is Resident Evil 9, drops today. If you're interested in picking up, it's got great ratings and looks to be a pretty big chapter for fans for Leon. Um, a armed shooter broke into the Mar-a-Lago resort this week and was killed by security. So that happened. Um, a federal judge um, uh, has ordered a school district to pay parents $1.5 million dollars who sued the school system after it took away parental notices about things that they considered controversial, things from gender issues to LGBT themed storybooks and things like that, where the school just decided we don't have to tell you about this anymore. We're tired of having these conversations, and a federal judge in Maryland ordered that happen. Um, Cuba's government has said on Wednesday that its soldiers killed four people aboard a speedboat registered in Florida. So a speedboat that was registered to Florida was driving too close to Cuba, and Cuba killed them. So as crazy as that is, mm, I don't know why you'd be trying that. Cottage cheese sold at Walmart has been recalled across 24 states. So if you bought some cottage cheese from Walmart, what's going on with your life? Where are you at in your life that you know what? You're at Walmart, and you're just like, you know what I need today? I need cottage cheese. I get cottage cheese exists. I get that cottage cheese is consumed for things, but why is that your go-to? Why is cottage cheese in your life right now? It's a bigger question. But also, it's been recalled. Don't eat it. Um, an airport in Florida, in Tampa, has officially banned pajamas. You are no longer allowed to fly out of Tampa International Airport um, in your jammy jams. So think twice. They're gonna turn you around at the terminal, and you're gonna have to go buy a whole outfit that says Tampa in the gift shop um, as you're doing this. Uh, a driver who struck and killed the founding member of the Dixie Chicks slash the Chicks, Laura Lynch, has been sentenced. The woman was going over 100 miles per hour when she struck Lynch, and she has been sentenced to 15 years in prison for that. Cassidy says, with salt and pepper and tomatoes, cottage cheese is delicious. I've not personally had cottage cheese in like 8 years, so I can't attest to it. I just know people were like eating it with pears, and that's its own weird crime. Megan the Stallion will be making her Broadway debut on Moulin Rouge as she takes the role of Harold Ziegler. She'll be getting her Broadway debut on March 24th. Um, so yeah, she'll be the first female to play Ziegler, and she will. The show, which opened in 2019, will end its Broadway run on July 26th. So Megan will take him out with that. Also on recalled items, frozen blueberries have been recalled across four states. To uh, most, it's being labeled as the most severe risk by the FDA. So frozen blueberries, nearly 60,000 pounds of frozen blueberries are being recalled for risks. A Pennsylvania high school student is facing more than 300 felony charges. Um, uh, as he has been extorting students within his school with videos of unlawful acts, child pornography, and other things. 18-year-old Zachary Abraham Myers. basically was getting illicit photos, videos, and other things of students, and then blackmailing them into doing his bidding. And he's facing more than 300 charges of felonies. And this was actually an episode of Black Mirror. Kirk, good morning, bro. Um, the State of the Union address happened this week, and it was the longest State of the Union address in history. Um, I reported last week that a Ukrainian bobsled or skeleton sled uh, com competitor in the Olympics was banned from the Olympics for wearing a helmet showing victims who were killed during the Russian invasion of the Ukraine. Um, his name is Vladislav Harashev. He was banned for that. But Ukraine's wealthiest man, billionaire Renat Akhmetov, has given him over $200,000 for his generosity. And yeah, Kirk says Retrovault is coming on the show. Said they met you in Charleston. Yeah, they were really cool folks. Definitely enjoyed meeting them, man. Uh, a super duper rare blood moon will happen. A blood red moon. The moon will be blood red for 56 minutes in the early morning hours of March 3rd. This will be visible from North America, the Pacific, Australia, and East Asia. It will not be visible in Africa or Europe. But the important thing to note is that when this blood moon happens for these 56 minutes in March 3rd, all of the bad guys that you have taken down thus far are going to return, and Ganon's forces will be at their peak strength. So be cautious. Um, yep. Uh, Nathan Fillion, Malcolm Reynolds from Firefly and all the million other things he's done, hosts a podcast with Alan Tudyk from Firefly um, called Once We Were Spacemen, or We Were Once Spacemen. I think it's Once We Were Spacemen. Um, Nathan Fillion has been posting videos this week of him going to Firefly crew members' work places and telling them it's time, and they do dramatic reactions. So he showed up to Monica Baccarin and to Zoe Washburn, Gina Torres's workplaces, and told them it's time. So more than likely, we're going to get a full Firefly cast on the Once We Were Spacemen podcast. That's it for news. Um, let's go ahead and get our roll for initiative Bible reading. Sorry for Instagram. That was all up on the microphone. Forget I'm wearing this thing. Oh, also want to show this. This is neat. Um, a friend of mine watched the if you're not aware, I only have two super scheduled things that I'm doing right now. Podcast wise, I do a 3 minute devotional on Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on time, called Bite Size, and this on Friday mornings. And somebody took notes on the bite-sized devotional, and this was the image they drew or painted um, off of the bite-sized devotional, which was really neat. I'm excited about that. Um, and yeah, so that's pretty neat. All right, let's see what we're going to be reading today. Um, Old Testament is rock. New Testament is scissors, and paper is the whole Bible. All right, let's see what we're reading. Whole Bible it is. All right, so that means we need three D10, three D20s and a D10. All right. Um, 3D20s and a D10. Let's go with this guy, and this guy. And we need a D10. Go with this guy. All right. Rules for rolling for initiative are that if you roll multiple dice, which we're rolling four dice, you subtract one number for each additional dice you roll that you can still roll the number one. So out of 66 books in the Bible, we're going to roll and see which book we're reading this morning. All right, we got a 15. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a nat 20 on our Bible reading this morning. It's going to be good right there. Uh, so that's we got a 19. Ooh, I smell some Old Testament or New Testament coming right now. Um, and a 7. So we got 39 plus 15 is 44 plus 7 is 51. Then we do minus 3 gets us 48. So we're going to be in the 48th book of the Bible. We're going to figure out what that is real quick. Great bite size this week, except side quest rules. Dude, it depends on what it is. Like, I'm a story-based person, and unless the side quests and like further the story, I don't want it. Now, some side quests make the story much better. The Pokemon sto side quests are just kind of like asinine stuff, man. Um, I don't know, but I'm with you. Side quests can be their own thing. And there are certain like for me, for Baldur's Gate 3, I was more concerned with getting Karlach's heart fixed than actually fixing the whole storyline. All right, we're on the 48th book of the Bible. So 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. We're in Galatians. Galatians was probably not one we've done in a minute. Galatians has 6 chapters. All right. So we need to see which chapter of Galatians we're rolling. So we're going to roll a d6. I'm going to roll my favorite d6, which is I've got these giant stone ones from Italy, which is pretty neat. Um, Nathan and Alan just did a podcast with Brent Spiner and Jonathan Frakes dropping names podcast. That's really awesome. Brent Spiner came by my booth one time at a GalaxyCon and took a photo of my booth and said, "This is great," and then just walked off. And I never got to talk to him again, but that's still pretty cool. All right, let's see which chapter of Galatians we're reading. 1. Bam. Keeping it simple. Galatians chapter 1. So I'm going to go ahead and put that note down in my little Clever Foxes journal just because it's got this cool little reading plan. Galatians 1. All right. Going to jump into our Faith and Fandom devotional journal. I promise it's not just shameless product placement. I'm actually using this thing. Um, I'm going to go over to the Bible study section. All right, Galatians 1. So we're on February 27th. Galatians chapter 1. Let's read this guy. Paul, an apostle, sent not from men, nor by man, but by Jesus Christ and God the Father, who raised him from the dead, and all the brothers and sisters with me, to the churches in Galatia. Grace and peace to you from God our Father and from the Lord Jesus Christ, who gave himself for our sins to rescue us from the present evil age, according to the will of our God and Father, to whom be glory forever and ever. Amen. I am astonished that you are so quickly deserting the one who called you to live in grace of Christ and are turning to a different gospel, which is really no gospel at all, with Paul with the shade. Evidently, some people are throwing you into confusion and are trying to pervert the gospel of Christ. But even if we or an angel from heaven should preach a gospel other than the one preached to you, let them be under God's curse. As we have already said, so now I say again, if anybody is preaching to you a gospel other than what you accepted, let them be under God's curse. Paul said, I'm going to run it back. I'm going to say this two times. Um, and then Galatians 1:10 is one of these verses that has lived in my head rent free forever. When I was doing ministry ordination, this was the verse that they really left on me, that one, that I needed a thicker skin because I was emotionally sensitive, which is zero surprise. But two, that I have to make sure I'm not living for any people's approval because I am a people pleaser by nature as well. Um, but Galatians 1:10 says, "Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ." Verse 11, um, I want you to know, brothers and sisters, that the gospel I preached is not of human origin. I did not receive it from any man, nor was I taught it. Rather, I received it from a revelation from Jesus Christ. For you have heard my previous way of life in Judaism, how intensely I persecuted the church of God and tried to destroy it. I was advancing in Judaism beyond many of my own age among my people and was extremely zealous for the traditions of my fathers. But when God, who set me apart from my mother's called me by womb, called me by this grace, was pleased to reveal to his Son in me that I might preach him among the Gentiles. My immediate response was not to consult any human being. I did not go up to Jerusalem to seek those who were apostles before I was. I went to Arabia. Later, I returned to Damascus. Then, after 3 years, I went up to Jerusalem to get acquainted with Cephas and stayed with him for 15 days. I saw none of the other apostles, only James, the Lord's brother. I assure you, before God, that I am writing to you this is no lie. Then I went to Syria and to Cilicia. I was personally unknown to the churches that are churches of Judea that are in Christ. They only heard of the report. The man who formerly persecuted us is now preaching the faith who once tried to destroy it, and they praise God because of me. Um, yeah. All right, main passage focus, Paul and his calling to the gospel. Who wrote it? Paul. Who was it written to? The church in Galatia. Why was it written? At least this chapter is to establish his role in the church. Let's see, when was Galatians written? Galatians was written around 48 to 49 AD. Considered one of Paul's earliest letters. And where was it written? Early scholars suggest it was written from Ephesus, Macedonia, or Corinth. So he wrote this while on the road to other churches. Symbolism present, not a lot of symbolism, just on the role of what it means to be an apostle. Verses that stood out. Galatians 1:10 always stands out about what our motives are. We doing things for pleasing people or for others? Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of God. I mean, that's just about as good of a reminder as we can get. Also, any gospel other than this gospel isn't a gospel. So verses 7 and 8. What can I learn from this? It's never too late for a fresh start. Other people's perspective doesn't define you. God can use us even when we're going in the wrong direction. How can I apply this to my life? Um, be willing to shift gears. Don't hide from your past. And don't live for approval. As Lecrae says, if you live for people's applause, you'll die from their silence. Was there anything really hard to understand? Not so much on this one. Pop culture parallel that reflects this passage. Um, Personally speaking, just because he's saying that he didn't get the revelation from other people, but it was given to him directly from God, and how he went on his mission with it. First thing that pops in my mind is Blues Brothers with like when Paul's doing it, you say they got a direct revelation. If we cut to that shot of Jake getting the blue light, like where he says, "Yes, yes, Jesus, age tap dancing Christ, I've seen the light." Yes, that one is what I, in my nerd mind, think of with Paul's calling. Most memeable verse from the passage. Um, I think verse 10 is the most memeable because anybody that's seeking people's approval um is easy to like put that with any kind of concept of people campaigning, people that are people pleasing. That's a grand place to meme out of. What song would be the best soundtrack? Um, Don't Nobody Own Us from KB is my first thought with that. Well, we've done our Bible reading. We've gone through some news. I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters and update you just a smidge on some stuff. I officially turned in the first draft of Faith and Fandom Bite-Sized Second Breakfast that's being edited. I am 16 chapters deep in the Dungeons and Dragons book that I'm writing. And then once I'm done with that, we're going to be on Faith and Fandom Book 11. I've got ideas and outlines. I just haven't actually started writing them yet because I need my brain to be on focus mode. I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters, Jessica Luttrell, Jackie Kraft, Kelly Townsend, Alan Wallace, Fab Quack, Rivka and Tristan Birch, Dorothy Martin Winston, Michelle Stewart, Miss Lynn Turner. Thank you for all the everything last week. David Brooks, Jeff Weimer, Colin Sproles, Jamie Montgomery, the Coleman family. Maybe I'll see y'all at the Wilmington show if I get to stop by there. I won't have a booth, but I'm gonna try and go see Fangirling Over Jesus there. Jonathan Herman, Ron Petit, Gear Saber Cosplay, Scott Ward, Alicia Glenn. I hope y'all's family is recovering well from all the trauma y'all been through lately. Jay Sheed, Jason Crutchfield, Mike Perna, Todd Turner, John Jacobs, Zach Harris, Caleb Grimm, Jeanette Skaggs, Jason Bullock, Christina Ray, Sarah Lewis, Patrick Gale, Rebecca Godlove, and Adam Davis. Thank you all for supporting and encouraging all the ways that you do. If you are on the sticker level, I've got stickers that I'm going to be sending out the first of the week. I'm going to try and cover March and uh, February with that. But thank you all for listening, for supporting, for encouraging, for doing all the things that you do. My Jessica's a mess. I'll find it. Right. Oh, yes. Um, Dear friends, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well. Uh, 3 John 2. Thank y'all for being supporters, for being encouragements. Had a good weekend at the Captain's Comics Expo last week, and this week I gave out a ton of stickers at the 21 Pilots movie premiere. Now you'll hear about that in the bite size coming up on earlier in next week. And yeah, going to see Five Iron Frenzy tonight in Greensboro, the first Five Iron Frenzy concert in North Carolina in 13 years. So that's totally happening. But thank y'all for taking time to listen, for supporting, and for doing all that you do. And I hope to see you all at a con real soon. Bye, y'all.